Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to take a look at something a little different, a little more, I guess, personal. We're going to dive into Kenneth Grant's Against the Light. It's part memoir, part historical investigation, and, well...
Yeah, and a whole lot of psychic experiences. A really unusual blend.
Yeah.
Makes it fascinating, and potentially unreliable at the same time. So we have to be very careful here.
Oh, absolutely.
Discerning fact from Grant's personal interpretations. We'll do our best.
Yeah, and a quick note to our listeners, this deep dive does touch on mature themes of magic and witchcraft as understood through their historical context, not modern interpretations.
Right. Important distinction.
Exactly.
So listener discretion is advised.
Okay, so let's jump in. One of the most interesting pieces of Against the Light is this thing called Grant's Grimoire, this legendary collection of spells and encounters with otherworldly beings passed down through his family.
And this grimoire, it's not just a family legend either. Grant claims there's an Italian version.
Really?
Yeah, the Il Grimoire Grantiano. Wow.
Hidden away in a Florentine family library. And there were even rumors of an English version that belonged to Sir Francis Grant, the portrait painter.
Wait, so there could be multiple versions of this thing floating around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It suggests there's this whole network of occult knowledge, possibly spanning centuries and continents.
Yeah.
Pretty fascinating stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But it gets even weirder because Grant actually says he found a copy of the grimoire hidden in a crypt in Wales.
Yeah, it's like a direct personal connection, to this potentially powerful book.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got this mysterious grimoire. But Grant doesn't stop there. He gets really fixated on this ancestor of his from the 16th century, Margaret Wyard, who was executed for witchcraft.
And what's interesting about Wyard is that for Grant, she's not just some name in a history book. She's this tangible link to a past filled with magic, danger, tragedy. It's all there.
Yeah.
And the details are pretty wild. There's this other book, Sky Crash, a cosmic conspiracy that claims Wyard confessed to carnal knowledge of the devil, and that he appeared to her in the form of a beast.
Now, of course, we have to remember these accusations were pretty common during the witch trials.
Right.
The devil taking on bestial forms reflects the anxieties and beliefs of the time.
That's a good point.
We have to look at it through that lens.
Right. But this is where it gets kind of interesting. The supposed meeting place for these encounters was Rendlesham Forest.
Oh, wow.
And that place still has a pretty creepy reputation even today.
It's like this connection between Wyard, the devil, and Rendlesham created some kind of, energy vortex that keeps resonating,
Totally. Sky Crash even mentions present-day rumors of satanic rituals in the forest. It's almost like there's a direct link between ancient witchcraft and the modern day.
Yeah, like these practices somehow echoing through time. It's a compelling idea.
Definitely. But Grant doesn't just rely on historical records and rumors. He actually enlists the help of a clairvoyant.
Really?
Yeah. And even uses his own blood to connect with Wyard's occult past.
That's where things take a turn into the truly esoteric, blending historical research with psychic exploration. It's pretty out there.
Yeah, and he gets some pretty startling results.
Yeah.
Grant says he used a scrying globe, basically a crystal ball, and that he started seeing visions, especially after injecting himself with Wyard's blood.
It's a pretty bold claim.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder about the power of suggestion, the power of belief, how the mind can influence what we see.
Yeah. But here's where it gets even weirder.
Okay.
The clairvoyant starts sharing similar visions with Grant, including this terrifying encounter with a tentacled creature in the same crypt where he supposedly found the grimoire.
So either they're both caught in some shared delusion or they're really tapping into something, some hidden dimension connected to Wyard and her practices. What do you think?
Now, along with Wyard, there's this other fascinating figure who pops up in Grant's story, his great-uncle, Dr. Phineas Black.
Yeah, Dr. Black. He was an interesting character, obsessed with immortality, and he called it occult aesthetics. Believed yogis could live for centuries. Yeah, by suppressing their thoughts.
Wow.
He even had this whole theory about time and memory.
Okay, so tell me about that.
Well, he believed time wasn't linear, but cyclical, that memories could be inherited, that past, present, and future were all intertwined somehow.
It's pretty mind-bending stuff.
It really challenges our understanding of reality, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And get this, Dr. Black was connected to Austin Osman Spare, the artist, known for his dark, often disturbing artwork.
Spare's work, much like Black's theories, explored the shadowy side of consciousness, and
Yeah.
the occult forces at play within us.
And there's this one image that Black is fixated on, a portrait of Helen Vaughn. And she keeps appearing in Grant's story, like she holds the key to some hidden truth.
Helen Vaughn, she's like this recurring feminine archetype in Grant's work, a figure connected to beauty and danger, power and vulnerability all at once.
It's like we're building this web, of interconnected people, strange objects, and unsettling visions. It's a lot to take in.
And it all leads back to this central question. Is Grant just giving us his subjective, occult-influenced version of history, or is he revealing a hidden reality most of us are blind to?
Right? What do you think?
Like he's pulling on this thread that unravels into this huge hidden world with its own rules and dangers.
And there's one figure who represents that danger more than any other, the yellow one. This mysterious figure keeps popping up in Grant's story, always with these cryptic warnings about hidden knowledge and dangerous occult practices.
The thing about the yellow one is he's never really explained. He's more like an archetype,
Right.
a symbol of forbidden knowledge and what happens when you try to get it.
Yeah, he makes these weird pronouncements about time and memory. Even the nature of reality, it's like he's trying to mess with how we understand the universe.
And to make it even more intriguing, he's connected to this guy, August Bush, who deals in weird artifacts.
Like what kind of artifacts?
Strange, disturbing stuff. Suggests there's a whole network of people working in the shadows, trafficking in these objects of power.
It's like Indiana Jones, but way darker and creepier.
Exactly. And those dangers become even more real when Grant talks about the tunnels of Set.
Okay, what are those?
Well, to understand the tunnels of Set, we need to talk about the Kabbalistic tree of life. Think of it like a map of the cosmos, representing different levels of reality and consciousness.
So not a literal tree, but a spiritual roadmap.
Exactly. And Grant describes the tunnels of Set as these hidden paths within that map, paths that lead to realms beyond our normal perception.
Like back doors in reality leading to places we shouldn't go.
That's a good way to put it. Dr. Black, Grant's great-uncle, believed these tunnels weren't just pathways to knowledge, but to dangerous ancient forces.
So we're not just talking about abstract occult ideas here. We're talking about a threat to humanity.
Exactly. And Grant suggests certain people, like Margaret Wyard, could act as gateways for these forces.
So some people are more susceptible to these influences, these intrusions from other realms.
That's the idea. And it raises questions about free will and destiny. If Wyard could become a conduit, could any of us?
It's a chilling thought. And then Grant introduces this terrifying creature called the Crickskewer bird.
Yes, the Crickskewer bird. A being from another dimension connected to the star New Isis.
Okay.
Now, New Isis is a binary star system in the constellation Boots. And in Grant's magical system, it represents a gateway to otherworldly realms.
So it's not just some random star. It has a specific occult meaning.
Exactly. And the Crickskewer bird becomes a symbol of the cosmic horrors waiting for us in those realms.
So Grant's adding a cosmic horror element to the story now.
Absolutely. But there's another interesting pattern that emerges, and it goes back to those powerful women we talked about.
You mean the ones connected to Margaret Wyard?
Right. Helen Vaughn, Mrs. Beaumont, Bissa L'Oreal, Clandefane, Kathleen Wyard, and Margaret Leasing.
Yeah. And they're all described as gateways or vessels for these occult forces.
What's fascinating is they're not victims. They're powerful, often associated with beauty and sexuality. They wield their occult connection in ways that are both attractive and scary.
Like they embody both the allure and the danger of this hidden world.
Exactly. And then things get really strange. Grant finds his own writing in a grimoire that predates him.
Wait, what?
Yeah. It suggests a time loop, an alternate timeline, maybe even reincarnation.
That's wild. It's like he's stumbled into a paradox.
And this ties back to those ideas of cyclical time we discussed earlier, the ideas from the Yellow One and Dr. Black. It's like Grant's experiencing proof of their ideas.
Right. But it also makes you question reality. If time is cyclical, does that mean our lives are predetermined? Are we just playing out roles in some cosmic play?
Those are some big questions. And then, to make things even weirder, we get the unclean frogs.
Oh, yeah, the frogs.
These horrifying creatures emerge from sacks delivered by, you guessed it, August Bush. They're connected to the Outer Ones, entities that pose a direct threat to humanity.
So now we've gone from shadowy figures in hidden dimensions to full-on cosmic horror.
Exactly. But I'm a little unclear on who these Outer Ones are. Can you explain?
Well, the outer ones are a complex idea that comes from various occult traditions and literature. Think of them as ancient, powerful beings beyond our understanding of space and time, often associated with chaos and destruction.
Sort of like the cosmic horrors in H.P. Lovecraft stories.
Exactly. And Grant suggests these beings threaten not just individuals, but reality itself.
Okay, so the frogs are like harbingers, signs that these powerful, chaotic forces are getting closer.
It's like the calm before the storm, but with grotesque amphibians instead of rain.
A very vivid image. And it leads to a scary question. If these forces are growing stronger, what does that mean for us?
That's a question we'll have to explore further in our deep dive into Against the Light. So we've got these unclean frogs showing up, and they're like a warning about the outer ones. It's getting pretty intense.
It really shows how Grant isn't afraid to explore the darker side of the occult.
Yeah, he's not sugarcoating it.
No, not at all. There's a real sense of danger here.
Like, this stuff has consequences you can't just ignore.
Exactly. It makes you think about the responsibility that comes with this kind of knowledge, especially when you're dealing with occult forces. It can be powerful, but it can also lead to, obsession or even madness.
It feels like Grant himself might have struggled with that.
Yeah.
He's obviously fascinated by the occult, but he also talks about these unsettling visions, this paranoia and dread. It's as if he's being drawn into something that's both alluring and terrifying.
Like he's walking a tightrope, trying to explore these hidden realms without getting lost in them.
It makes you wonder if Grant, knowing what he knows now, would have chosen a different path.
Right.
Would he have resisted the allure of the occult?
It's hard to say, but his story is a cautionary tale,
Yeah.
A reminder to be careful what you seek. You might not like what you find.
And to be prepared for the consequences.
Absolutely. Grant's work suggests that even unintentional dabbling in the occult can have these ripple effects that go way beyond ourselves.
Okay, so let's try to make sense of all of this.
Right.
We've covered a lot. Grimoires, witches, creepy visions, mysterious figures, cosmic horror. It's a lot to digest.
What stood out to you the most in Against the Light?
Honestly, it's that unsettling feeling that there's more to reality than we see. Grant's story, whether you believe it all or not, makes you consider the possibility of hidden worlds, different timelines, forces we can't control.
I agree. It's a good reminder to stay curious, to question our assumptions about reality.
Yeah.
There might be truths hidden in the shadows, truths that could change everything.
It makes you wonder, what if we're all connected to these hidden currents, What if we're all playing a part in this cosmic drama, whether we're aware of it or not?
That's a pretty profound thought. If time is cyclical, like Grant says, maybe we're not just watching. Maybe we're actually shaping the destiny of the unslept.
It's definitely something to think about. It's almost like Grant saying history isn't just something we read about in books. It's something we're actively participating in.
And if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, I encourage you to explore Grant's work further. You might also want to check out Aleister Crowley, whose ideas really influenced Grant, or even delve into the cosmic horror of H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, they all offer different perspectives on reality, the occult, and what it means to be human.
And who knows, you might even find yourself questioning your own place in all of this.
So until next time, stay curious, keep exploring.
And maybe keep a nightlight on, just in case.
Always good advice when you're dealing with the occult.
Thanks for joining us.